I'm Nicholas Eller. I'm a sophomore here at UNCW, and I'm studying economics. So my whole life I would have considered myself a Christian, but I always saw the difference, I guess, in people who like me who claim to be Christians and then people who lived it out. So I never lived it out. So in the grand scheme of things, looking back, I wasn't a Christian even though I claimed to be. And then I came to Christ about 3 years ago through Young Life. So I was a sophomore in high school when I surrendered my life to Christ, and the only thing I could held on to, and from that point until now, well, until I came to college, was my heart changed. Like, my desire changed, all my desires have changed, my mindset had changed, the way I walked, talked, act, saw people, saw the world, like everything had changed. So that's what I held on to the most. Didn't know the Bible, couldn't quote scripture, couldn't be asked the question and point to scripture. All I could ever tell was my testimony, and that was enough for me to truly believe and know that I had my salvation. But then coming to college, I took an intro to New Testament class at this university, and it was taught by a very smart, I'll say, guy who knows the Bible, fluent in Greek, fluent in Hebrew. And it was an intro to New Testament class, but what the class did was, it was all about textual criticism, the entire class. First thing first, we weren't allowed to really argue with him. We were just basically sitting in on a lecture. And the hard part about it was that he was essentially putting his own philosophy and preaching from his place as the professor. So we all had to listen, and he basically, on a level, debunked the whole Bible, basically saying Matthew didn't write Matthew. Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John is the main things we focused on, and basically proved him wrong. Or at least that's what everyone in the class was kind of thinking, because we had no authority to speak back, and we hadn't studied it the way he had studied it. So throughout that class, it was like the hardest thing in my faith, not knowing anything else, holding on to a heart change, and there being this big gap. So that's where Ratio came in. I just started coming to Ratio this semester from the start, and Ratio helped out a lot. The biggest way Ratio has helped was like the platform of what Ratio is about, the classical approach of establishing truth from the start. Like, what is true? What does it mean for something to be true? And that there is, that truth is a thing. Getting to hear that some things that he said were true, but also there is another side to things, and that seeing both sides and coming to what we would consider to be true beyond reasonable doubt has been by far strengthened me as a Christian, and given me lots of tools, I would say, speaking to other people who then now ask me questions, and being able to come to them and establish from the start of our conversation, when they ask these very far-fetched questions that lots of people can't answer to 100% certainty, but establish a truth claim from the start and go from there. Well, I would say don't take a New Testament class, but at the same time, I think it's important to be faced with those questions, because it's not, if you are a Christian, if you've been saved, then it's not something that's going to take your salvation away from you. So to be faced with those questions alone would be horrible. I wouldn't wish that upon anyone. So to have a group like Ratio, a place to come to and be able to ask these good questions, which, a lot of the questions that professors like that oppose are good questions, but they need good answers, and that's something that, in my experience with Ratio, has been a place where there's lots of people who are asking the same questions and who have, sought good answers in that. To have a group like Ratio is really important because, like me, it's, in a way, there's nothing wrong with only holding on to a heart change, because that's all we should need, and then the Bible to go from there. But in this world of skepticism that culture's bringing about, just the skeptic of everything, there's no new questions. I'm sure there could be a new question, but really there's not many new questions about the validity of the Bible or about different theologies. Most of them, of course there could be a new question, but have been asked and answers have been sought out. And it's really just being at a university, especially a liberal university, and taking classes like that, you really feel alone. So having a place like Ratio, it's like having a home base to come to, like I said, ask good questions and seek good answers.